Poison Ivy, issue
Mm,
19. G. Willow Wilson writing with Marcio Takara on the art. Take it away, Matt.
yeah. So at the end of the last issue, we had Floronic Man showing back up and Pam dying. And so this issue picks up with Croc and Janet from HR um, basically yelling towards Pam of what's going on, what is that thing, and then everything goes black, and we get dropped into a new telling of Ivy's, yeah, I would say it would be Ivy's origin. So it's weird that we're getting a Joker year one, and now it's seemingly we're getting Poison Ivy. Not quite year one, but it goes to her being a science nerd teenager, and mom telling her she's spending too much time looking at microscopes, and she wants to get into this very prestigious school in Seattle because it's the only one that has a plant biochemistry program. And so she stays the course. She ends up there and ends up being taught by Dr. Jason Woodrue, who later becomes the Pharaonic Man. And this is where the first problem I have with this comes into, because G. Willow Wilson makes the fatal mistake of let's tie every plant-based character together at this one place. And so as she's in this school, she ends up meeting what's his name? Phil Sylvain, who's a plant genomics expert, and Dr. Alec Holland, who's a brilliant botanist who becomes Swamp Thing, and Alec's wife Linda. And so they're all in this school, and she's, they're all in the same class being taught by Woodrue. And I just, it's one of those things in comics where everything's just a little bit too neat. Like I'm perfectly fine with Ivy and Holland not meeting until he's Swamp Thing and she's Poison Ivy. And yes, they share this, not even history, but they share a similar past in, plant life and whatever. So just putting them all together in one spot for her, to become Poison Ivy, I think is a little bit messy, or not messy, but a little bit too convenient. But it shows the dynamics here with all of them, in that she's very much trying to get into the good favor of Woodrue, and Holland and his wife are of course married. Sylvain's kind of he's part of the team as well, but he's kind of standoffish towards everybody. And Pam tells him I'm gonna go and get a head start on this project that we're working on, that Woodrue wants to start trying to use these mushrooms to or genetically manipulate these mushrooms into becoming other things. So he's trying to merge animal life with plant life. And they tell her we all know this is code, that you're just gonna go hang out with Woodrue because you're sweet on him. And Pam's yeah, I probably should have listened. I should have had more caution. Sorry about that. So she goes, and he starts telling her that they're, this project that they're working on, we have to keep presenting it to the donors because that's the only way we're going to keep getting money. And he's very, he's all smiles and he looks like Prince Charming, and Pam's very taken with him. And he says, the regulators and the medical ethics boards are so squeamish about what we're working on, so we're going to have to keep this quiet. And the team ends up having this big, huge breakthrough. And he ends up picking Linda and Pam as his assistants to work on this project, to which the guys get very upset. And Woodrue tries to spin it as, don't be jealous. It's important that we promote women in science. Linda doesn't look thrilled, but Pam is, beyond happy. And this is where Takara's art looks really great, because when he says that, Pam's smiling, Linda looks confused, Sylvain looks upset, and Alec is just as confused as his wife. Again, it drives home what the whole vibe of the story is that Ivy's not picking up on the dangers that are very real, that is about to change her life forever. And Woodrow tells him, we're here to break boundaries, and I'm willing, to. It says, so never let it be said I wasn't willing to give my female students opportunities for advancement. I love women, and it just comes off as so creepy, and it's definitely edging towards that Me Too kind of vibe of this guy is going to definitely abuse his power, and that's how we're going to end up with Ivy. So Linda and Pam are working on this project. They're still not done because it's very challenging, and he freaks out that they were supposed to be done. He swipes one of the vials that they're using and from Linda, and just like roughly injects this plant with whatever material they're working on, and says, that should do it. And you're seeing the bad side of him now. So the first half of the book really shows him as Prince Charming. This side shows like that darker half. Like if this was one of the true crime docs I watched with my wife, this is definitely where you start getting the, he wasn't always all right, as he's yelling at them, Linda looks at Pam as like, why didn't you say something? There's two of us, there's one of him. You could have stood up. And Pam's just like, well, I didn't want to upset him. You know how he gets. And then now Pam, not future Pam, starts narrating, says, this is what an evil genius does. He isolates you, pits you against your colleagues and your friends. And then from that point, Pam's kind of on her own. She starts isolating herself from her group of friends. Woodrow brings in the plant that they were working on, and it looks like something from The Thing. It's all curly, but it's purple now instead of green. And it's basically all tendrils, and it looks very sinister. And Woodrow tells them that it not only reacts to light and temperature, but to human voices. It's listening to us. Which again, everybody looks worried except for Pam, who looks excited. Woodrow ends up telling Pam, like, hey, I'm going to need a little bit of more extra help, so why don't you come by my office? And she does, and she says, I wish this is, I'd love to say this isn't what it looks like, but it's exactly, and it shows her on top of him, passionately kissing him. And she goes, at the time I thought it was exciting. I didn't think we were doing anything wrong. I was an adult, so it wasn't illegal, but this is the beginning where everything went wrong. So it shows that Woodrow has definitely a firm hold over her, which has been a theme from this book from the start. That she's never going to be able to escape the guy that turned her into this. And so she ends up meeting Woodrow at a shipping facility. There's a bunch of shipping containers all over, and he has a secret lab, and he says this is where I've been doing all the wonderful work. And there's all of these plants that just look like something at a Little Shop of Horrors. That they're all very sharp angled and very threatening looking. And Pam says that at the time she couldn't believe she was seeing. It looked like something from a dream. And it's here that Woodrow drops on her that yeah, we can't be doing this type of work at the university anymore because they're starting to ask too many questions. So we're going to have to get our, supplies and funding elsewhere. She starts working, throw herself into this work. And he ends up, telling her that I have something for you to do because you're the only one that can help me. And it jumps to the university 2 nights later, and Pam's dressed in all green. She has what looks like a scarf wrapped around her face. And she goes, up to this point, I was a straight A student. I'd never done anything like close to getting a speeding ticket. But this was the moment that Poison Ivy was born, because this is where she got okay with breaking all the rules. And she ends up sneaking into the university, stealing some cultures, and running out as security is chasing her. And she was like, this is when something got woken up inside me. something beautiful, but something dangerous. And that's where it ends. And yeah, so not stoked on to be getting this new version of Ivy's origin, but it is in theme to the story that Wilson's been telling from the beginning, which is amazing considering this was only meant to be like a 6-issue mini. So the fact that she's been able to spin it this far, and, you know, I feel like if this book does end, at least it's going to have like a, you know, it's going to feel like a complete run. It's not going to feel like it was cut off. So Takara's art's fantastic. The facial expressions are still there. But there's not like, it's very outside of like the plant creature, you know, experiment things. There's not a lot of like superhero-y type stuff. It's all very like normal because it's all set at the university and they're all still
talky, you mean?
Not just talky, but like there's not a lot of flourishes to anything. Everyone like Takara's giant, so knowing what he can do and just having that restraint here to, you know, it really makes those scenes stand out because they're so mundane. That's the word I'm looking for. There's a mundanity to it all, and it just works so well. So this is, I think, a lot like the Joker. I think it's a 3-part story as well. So it's just funny how at DC there's a lot of similar thoughts going on. You know, we talked about like the Joker virus thing ending like Bizarro and all of that. It's, you know, so it's just weird how things are lining up.
That's strange.
But yeah, so rating this, I'm gonna give this an 8.